All righty. Let's go ahead and let's get started. Welcome to the Saxton Show podcast, coming to you live from beautiful Medellin, Colombia, one of my favorite cities. We are now on episode 13. And today's title is this. Let me put it right here for you guys. Wrong one. Oh, I didn't even save it. Whatever, technical. The Way of the Superior Man in 2022. The Way of the Superior Man. If you don't know who I am, my name is DeAndre Saxton, and I built a seven-figure coaching and consulting business at the age of 25 years old. And my mission now is to teach young men, I'm talking about men under the age of 35, how to navigate in this world when it comes to earning money, so their wealth, their relationships, their dating life, their relationships with their friends, and how to be the James Bond of their life, how to build masculine energy so that way you become attractive, not only to the opposite sex, not only just to girls, but also to the people around you, that people can feel comfortable in your presence. So if you're here for the very first time, make sure you subscribe to the show below, show your boy some love, hit that like button, and let's go ahead and let's get started. All right, so let's go ahead, and today's title is The Way of the Superior Man. Let me get this out of here. The Way of the Superior Man. This is a book that I have been reading now for the last coming weeks, but I actually made a decision earlier today that I was going to read this book and I was going to document it on this podcast and along with my YouTube channel and adding my own flair and personality. That way the men that are watching today's show, they can go out there and they can actually build huge results in their life when it comes to what we're going to talk about today. Is the first half is what is it like to be a man, to hold that masculine energy, and then we'll follow along with down the line with wealth and everything else. So this book, The Way of the Superior Man, has been helping me out because one of the battles that I started to have as a young man, especially moving into Miami, was how to navigate, what choices to make. You know, I was watching Ray Dalio's audio book on principles, and Ray Dalio says that the quality of your life is based on the quality of your choices, the quality of your decisions. You see, for many of us, we want to have an improvement in our income. We want to have an improvement in our lifestyle, but yet we come over here. Let me get this off here. Sorry, let me get back here. We want to have an improvement in our lifestyle, but yet it comes down to not the work and the actions, but actually the quality of the decisions that you make. Well, mindset programs such as this and getting on calls like this is how you can actually make those improvements. So without enough talking, let's hop straight into it. I wanted to go ahead and we're going to start off first by understanding the dynamics of a relationship with a woman. And we're going to be talking about many different areas: woman, wealth, business, and sexuality, and how to actually harness that into something what Napoleon Hill calls sexual transmutation. How to take that energy and actually move it into a direction where you actually not create life but create ideas with it. So we're going to start off first with the relationship part. So he says that in the new world, women in this new world, women are taking the lead. Men no longer the sole breadwinner or the most purpose-driven member of the household, and are rediscovering their worth both in the world and in the relationship. You see, in today's dynamic, when it comes to relationships, it's a very interesting world that we're coming into. There's been a shift when it comes to the roles in polarity when it comes to masculine and feminine energy. Now, a woman can hold masculine energy and a man can hold feminine energy, but at an essence, each of us has a core either masculine energy or a core feminine energy. And what started to happen is the traditional roles that we had, let's just say in the time of my grandparents, right? My grandpa is 72 years old. My grandma's like 68 or so. The time that when my grandparents were getting married, it was a completely different time when it came to masculine and feminine energy, sexuality, and polarity back then as compared to now, where it's not the fault of the women, but women have way more access to potential suitable partners than ever before. Like, think about a girl in the like 1950s, if she was going to go on a date with a guy, some guy had to have the guts to go up and talk to her in person or meet her through a mutual friend, and then they would go on a date, and that date would then turn into a relationship down the road. But that's not how it works nowadays. You see, women have so much access to men and men's attention that it's almost like beefed up their ego a little bit, not a little bit, a lot of it, to the point where they're always in this constant need of seeking more, whether it's seeking more attention, whether it's seeking more validation, or just this mindset that thinks that there's a better guy out there, right? The guy that's in front of him right now, he might be a good quality guy. He might have, good head on his shoulders, but he might not be the big party guy or this huge lifestyle guy. And she might leave that good quality guy for another person who could potentially build a better life for her. And then it moves on and moves on and moves on, never being quite satisfied. And so what's happened here is the dynamics and the roles have changed. Now, just because women are more purpose-driven or more focusing on their bag and going after their money doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that. You see, one thing that I learned in this book is there's a difference between sexual polarity and social and economic polarity. I think it's totally fine. I think it's totally okay for a woman to be in her bag and go after what she wants, purpose-driven, get her money up, and, get her degree. I think that's totally fine. But the thing that comes with it is the characteristics that were needed in order for that to happen, which was purpose-driven, goal-driven, independence. And what begins to happen is when she meets another guy that's also purpose-driven, goal-oriented, there's a clash in the relationship. Either there's a clash or there's a neutrality into it, where it's not this strong polarity between masculine and feminine energy. Because a woman holds the masculine energy. Remember, purpose-driven, focused, entrepreneurial-driven, or career-driven. And then sometimes the man, if he's the same way, he won't find that sense of comfort with that woman because she's not holding that nurturing, feminine vibe that he would really be seeking deep down at his masculine core, as he would with the woman who potentially doesn't have the financial success or isn't career-oriented, but in an essence holds that feminine energy where he can feel like he can let go, release, feel comfortable. And so in today's world, a man's value is not based solely on his physical or attributes or the physical things that he've accomplished. You see, back in the day, like even to this day, my grandparents have been together for 50 years. My grandpa is the breadwinner, right? His value, intrinsic value, comes to the fact that he earns wealth to sustain his wife, my grandma, and the family that we grew up in. But in today's world, men are not valued in the same because a woman can go and get her own. So in a sense, men are in this weird phase, which is why I created this channel. Men are in this weird phase of like, all right, where is my value coming from? And it's a lot of it is inflated value, where it's like, all right, let me show how much money I have. Let me show how many Instagram followers. And a person's value is almost based on the amount of followers they have. Like how much vanity is that? That somebody's intrinsic value is based on their following, how much money they have? No. You see, and that's why a book like this is so powerful, is because he's saying that in this new age, a man's value is no longer measured by what he does, by his finances or his social standing, because a woman can do all of that. Let me tell you this, man. If you're 25 years old right now, 26, 27 years old, you can never compete with a beautiful woman in her prime. If you're a man under the age of 35 years old, you cannot face value compete with a young, beautiful woman in her prime. Now, why is that? Because a woman's intrinsic value coming off is her beauty. Her beauty. So a woman comes into this world at the age of 25, 22, 18 years old, and she becomes beautiful. Naturally, she is more valuable than a basic 24-year-old man, unless something happens. You see, unless that man becomes successful. You see, as a man, becoming successful, being on your purpose, and being a high-value man. Well, what's a high-value man? We talked about your friend circle. We talked about your network. We talked about your income. We talked about those are the hard skills, but also the soft skills. when you start to build this network around you of wealth, friends, relationship, you become more valuable. And that's the only thing that could ever trump or compete or, in a sense, attract a feminine woman that's in her prime. And so you won't ever understand this as a man, because remember, the guys that I'm talking to on this channel right now are guys that are starting to come into money. You're moving to a major city. Maybe you're moving to Miami or New York or Dallas, Texas, and you're making over 10 grand a month, and you're trying to get on dates. Let's just say you're under the age of 30, and you're having difficulty trying to attract the quality of woman that you want. Maybe the girls are flaky. Maybe the girls that you have a little bit of baggage. Maybe they have a child already, or maybe like there's something else going on, and you're having difficulty connecting with the woman. Well, it's not your fault. It's nature. You're not set up to win as a man at the age of under 35 years old until and unless you become successful and work on your purpose, is what we're talking about here. But in a sense, just your income alone doesn't mean that you're a high value man. Just your income alone and what you can provide is not the intrinsic value that's valued so much in a relationship. You know what is in our new world? What can separate you from all other men, where you could become a high value man and become the best version of yourself? And it comes to this: in our world, in our new world, a man's presence, his depth of awareness, is his most valuable asset. Who you are internally, your character, your integrity, that right there is the key to building what we call a high value man. I truly believe that a high value man first starts with the internal soft traits. The internal soft traits. And then secondly, followed by the hard traits, the income, the status. Simply being a millionaire does not mean you're a high status, because you could be a shitty person and nobody wants to hang out with you. So it's not just the money, as rappers in our lifestyle and so many of the people we look up to say, that just become successful, get a 6-figure job, and you'll become successful and get any girl you want. And it's not true. It's really not true, because there's so much more that goes into it. It's his depth of presence, his ability to stay calm and emotionally collect in a time of calamity, chaotic and unknown, unshakenness, and in the presence of death. I like what he says right here. If a man is it, and this, by the way, for most men, until you start making some money, you won't understand what I'm talking about here. As a man, when you start making money, or when you're starting to come into money, you start to think that how much you earn is the value you add as a man. So if you're earning $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month, or $1 million a year, whatever it is, you feel like you're more valuable as a man. And so that's what we're trying to say here is, if you continue to think like that, if you meet another man that has more money than you, then naturally you will feel less valuable than that guy, and you will have low self-esteem. And in that moment, as a man, you were revealed. Because when you compare apples to apples, if another guy has more money than you, if another guy has a better body than you, if a guy has a prettier girlfriend than you, and that's what you base your value on, you will never be good enough. You'll always be playing this compare game. And that's why when we get on social media, we're always comparing. Well, why is that? It's because a lot of the times we base our value on these outside things that are vanity. Our followers, our maybe like our status, or who we know, what city we live in. And if we always put our value on something that's outside of us, it can be taken away, it can be swept away, or you'll always be comparing it to somebody else's stuff. And that's why I got off of social media and Instagram, because it's not doing any good. If I would put my value and how many followers I have as a man, and that's where I get my value from, it's going to be a shallow world I live in. It's going to be a shallow world we live in. And this is why I've started creating content like this for our men. If our men continue to put value on the outside thing, what car you drive, how much money you make, what kind of clothes you have, and this is the value we put on as a man, then guess what? That's why when you meet a girl, she's not that attracted to you. She's attracted to you from the outside, but when she gets to know you, she's like, this guy's boring. Why? Is because you put your value on these outside things. But what we're talking about right here in the way of the superior man is your intrinsic value doesn't come from something outside of you. It's this internal state. It's this internal frame. It's this internal confidence. It's this internal steadfast poise. Mainly because you have this purpose, you have this knowledge and awareness about masculine and feminine energy. Does that make sense here? The author says that in today's relationships, they're trending right now towards 50-50, resulting in economic, social equality, and sexual neutrality. And that's totally fine. And I want to be clear with this because I don't want anybody ever coming back saying like, oh, DeAndre's saying this about girls and men. No. Let me get you clear. It's totally fine for a woman or a guy to go out there and get his bag, get his purpose, become independent. What I'm talking about here is the essential masculine and feminine energies. And what happens is when we get into a relationship, we bring the sense of neutrality, the sense of equality into a relationship. And the relationship is not passionate, sexually, mentally, and it might be physically attractive. And that's why a lot of us are so distracted in this hookup culture. I was in there. I've been on many dates. I've dated hundreds of girls, and I understand that culture. So I'm not bagging any guy that's living that life of physical, lustful activities. But what is though is the fact that it's not enough to be in a physical relationship with somebody. What I'm talking about here is having such a deep layer of trust, loving, understanding in your relationships with a woman that it's almost like you can just feel so comfortable around her. That she brings this essential feminine energy. And so what's happening is we have equality when it comes to the social skills, financial bags, and everybody's going out there and getting their bag. But when it comes to relationship, it's that tension is not there past the physical. How many people are jumping into relationships nowadays, or relationships are ending quickly? It's because of this dynamic that people don't understand that there's an outside. It's okay to be outside, but then there's also this inside. Right now, relationships are trending 50-50 in economic, social equality, but also sexual neutrality. Bank accounts are balancing while passions are fizzling out. Men are less macho while sex and violence continue to increase on the television. Or what I would say here is pornography. Men having pornography addictions. You see, as we move into a world where men are becoming more feminine, they're afraid to take risks. They're not purpose driven. They don't have a goal. They're afraid to go out there and do shit. They're afraid to get out there and test themselves and put themselves to the edge. Essentially, by you not living your truth as a masculine man, you therefore default to feminine energy, which is holding back, which is being more cautious, which is being more emotional. And in that sense, an emotional man is not a man you can trust. An emotional man is a man that a woman can never fully surrender to and trust. Because as if in a feminine energy, that woman is the emotional. She's the one that's more caught up in her emotions because that's how women are built. But then if we have this emotional feminine woman and then she meets a emotional feminine man who's afraid of taking risks, afraid to go out there and afraid to have goals, afraid to go out and change, face death, compete. Essentially, she's not attracted to him because polarities attract. Think about the North and South Pole. Electrical signals on opposite ends attract. Thinking about an electrical outlet or an electrical socket, you have a positive end and a negative end. So on the outside world, we might say, hey, we have equality, which is totally fine. But then we get into a dynamic relationship and that equality doesn't hold strong. Because that in essence, 90% of people either fall into two categories, masculine core or feminine core. Masculine core or feminine core. So if a man, or let's talk about a girl. So let's just say you're dealing with a woman and she puts a lot of emphasis on her career. She's purpose driven. She's very, going out there. She's into her bag. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. That's what equality is all about. But then I've dated these girls And then you get into a relationship with them and they can't fully surrender. It's like there's something missing. And as a man, especially if you're a purpose-driven man, you could potentially be attracted to another purpose-driven woman. Because as a man, you're going to be attracted to two different I'm talking about a masculine man here. A man that's on his purpose, a man that's getting his bag, a man that's doing shit. You're going to be attracted to two different kinds of women. One is a truly feminine woman, a woman that just melts in your arm when she's around you, super feminine, does a little tasks for you. You know, when she cooks for you, it makes you feel so good. Those little things, because most women don't do those things anymore. And then the other type of woman you could be attracted to is a very purpose-driven woman that on the outside world, she has a lot going on for her. Maybe she's a doctor. Maybe she's earning a good income. Maybe she has a good career. Maybe she has some kind of outside success. And then you meet this woman, and then you start to realize that you might have good sex physically, but then when it comes to the dynamic of the relationship, something seems off. It's like it's like there's something missing with her. Well, what's going on here in this relationship? Because I've dated girls like this. What's happening is the woman on the outside world, right? Her purpose-driven essence, she has developed masculine traits. And she starts to almost suppress that feminine emotion and energy and starts to live maybe 80-90% in this masculine energy. And then when she gets around you, another masculine man, she can't seem to surrender or can't seem to fully relax in your presence. And as a guy, you're wondering what's going on here. Like, you're attracted to what she's doing on the outside world, but sexually, intimately wise, you feel like there's something missing, that she doesn't fully complete you. And it's not her fault, because she doesn't understand what's going on either. And this is why I started this content, to help people understand, as I learned, that there's a dynamic. There's also an intimate dynamic when it comes to a relationship with a woman outside of her success, her career. And so if you start to deal with this girl, there will be something missing. Okay, there'll be something missing. Men and I was talking about this earlier. So when men become more feminized, they're afraid to go talk to women. They're afraid to approach women. They succumb to pornography addictions. How many guys are actually talking about this? You know what? I remember in church one time, a couple years ago, that when the pastor used to talk about a porn addiction, I thought a porn addiction was when a guy is like doing it like at his job or something, or like on the bus, like somewhere in public, like you can't control yourself. That's what I thought a porn addiction was, but I was not aware. A porn addiction is when you are watching it at all. You want to stop. You become aware that you want to stop, but you keep on with the addiction. You keep falling to it, even if it is privately in your room or wherever it is. But see, as men, we were taught that was normal, that was okay. And so here we are, and every time you do stuff like that, it actually feminizes you a little bit more. So we're in this world where men are becoming more feminine, more emotional, less purpose-driven, and women are becoming more purpose-driven, getting in their bag, told to focus on their career. And then when they meet each other, they might be physically attracted to each other, whether it's like physically meeting each other or sexually. But then after that, it's like something is hollow. It's hollow when it comes to your relationships. You know, later on in the series, we'll get into our relationships with, like, you know, our friend groups, relationship with ourselves. But in this first section on today's episode, we're just going to focus on the relationship with women. And so that's why there's this weird dynamic that's going on. So, and then women who are becoming more in control of their economic destiny will go out, and even women are saying, it's said that 70% of women right now are not that happy when it comes to their intimacy or their love life. They're saying that they can't find a suitable guy, or that men are not able to trust guys, or men are more emotional. Well, why is that? It's because of this dynamic here. Men are becoming more feminine, women becoming more masculine, and then when they get into a relationship, it's like they don't understand what's going on in this dynamic. And any type of intimate relationship, 90%, there has to be a masculine frame and a feminine frame. This is in any relationship. Whether you're doing a business deal, there's a feminine energy and there's a masculine energy. What I'm talking about here is not the actual sexual orientation or the physical sex of this person. I'm talking about the energy they're holding. When you're doing a business deal and you're closing and you're bringing that in, you're dominating the conversation, you are in a masculine energy. And a person that's surrendering and becoming your client is falling into a feminine energy. There's nothing wrong with that. One person is taking and one person is receiving. And so women now are unhappy because of the guys that they're coming across. And that's why I built this YouTube channel and started this show, is to start a journey of teaching men how to become more dynamic. Teaching men how to understand their masculine energy when it comes to their wealth, when it comes to their relationships with women, when it comes to their relationships with their friends, when it comes to the relationship when it comes to their own character and how they feel about themselves. Sexual attraction is based on sexual polarity, which is the force of passion that arcs between masculine and feminine poles. Masculine and feminine poles between people create the flow of sexual feeling. This is called sexual polarity. This force of attraction, which flows between two different poles of masculine and feminine, is the dynamic that often disappears in modern relationships. If you want real passion, you need a ravisher and a ravishee. Other than that, you have two buddies who are deciding to rub genitals together. We live in this hookup culture, and especially as men. All right, I'm going to talk about men here. As men, sometimes we feel like we're more of a man if we conquer a woman. If we sleep with a girl, or if we sleep with that girl that we really want, or if we sleep with as many girls as possible, we feel like we're a better man. But I don't know about you, man. I don't know if you're feeling this yet, or you will soon. You could sleep with as many girls as you want, and you still won't have that urge itched. You still will never have that hole filled. Because as a man, we're not taught that our value doesn't come from the woman that we sleep with. Our value comes from this intrinsic self, this sense of poise, this sense of direction. And if we are a man that's at our core in a masculine energy, and we are lacking in our purpose, we're lacking in our goals, we're lacking in a vision, and we're lacking in the sense of going out there and we're not breaking out into freedom. If we're not doing that, then we will distract ourselves with pornography, with dating, with sex, with women, with alcohol, with partying. We will distract ourselves from something else to fill that hole that's deep down. But that deep down hole can never be solved or filled with another sexual partner. That woman will never caress you long enough, hard enough, or soft enough for you to feel more of a man. That bar, that party, going out, none of that will fulfill that deeper sense of a masculine energy that you're missing until you get on your purpose. This is why on one of the last episodes, I talked about, as a man, you need to be on your purpose. Let me get this guy to the chat here. You got to be on your purpose. All right, we cleared that guy up. As a man, you got to be on your purpose. And as a man, if you're on your purpose and you're on your vision, what you're essentially doing is you're moving into freedom. And as a man, one of the most important things that you can do, you're at a deep masculine essence, you seek freedom. You seek freedom from a boss. You seek financial freedom, freedom of choices, freedom of options. You want to travel. You want to be able to be free or go out there and conquer and compete and win and become the best at what you do. That's an essential masculine energy. And as a woman is seeking love. As a masculine energy is seeking freedom, a more feminine or a woman will seek love, or what we call validation. And that's why social media has really uprooted a lot of stuff, because women are getting this false sense of validation from the orbiters or the men that support them and send them all this love. But even then, as a woman, they're getting all this outside love in the comments and stuff. But something even deep down as a woman, they don't feel happy. They don't feel fulfilled because they don't understand their dynamic. They just think because they're getting a lot of men's attention that they're being filled, but that's not true. A woman wants to surrender into love, fall into love, not just attention, validation, and vanity, but into deeper sense of love. And in order for a very feminine woman to do that, she must be encountered with a very masculine man. And I think one of the biggest issues that young men, such as myself, under the age of 35, that are earning 6 to 7 figures and they're on their purpose, one of the biggest challenges that we have is finding women, keeping them, and finding a woman that you can actually not collaborate with, but feel good around. Like, some girls just put you on this edge, and it's just like, we don't want to feel that as a man. As a man, think about this. You're a warrior. You're going out there and you're conquering the world. You're fighting, you're battling. Do you want to come home and still feel like you're competing with the attention of other men on their social media? Do you want to have this weird sense of like you have to be like put out this extra energy and be all this just to impress her when you get home? No. As a guy, you don't want to do that. You've just been out there kicking your ass and being on your purpose. And if you're a man and you're not on your purpose, then you don't know what I'm talking about right now, because you're always in this energy of trying to give and, oh my God, and win her over in this Disney fairy tale. So you're not even in the category of what I'm talking about. So I'm talking about the guy here that's on his purpose, that's working on being a high value man, that when you start to date these girls and you start to realize very quickly, if she's a very promiscuous girl on social media, which her choice, she can do all that, that getting this girl to submit to you, getting this girl to cooperate with you, to be friendly, to be feminine around you is very difficult. Or you might be able to do it for a week or 2 months, but something long-term is very difficult because she's always getting this outside validation from these orbiters that are filling her ego on the surface, but deep down it's not there. And as a guy, you feel like there's something missing. There's something missing. In any dynamic relationship, there must be a masculine energy and a feminine energy, or a leader and a submissive person. If men or women are clinging to politically correct sameness, even in the moments of intimacy, then sexual attraction disappears. Remember, we talked about this idea of polarity, North Pole, South Pole, negative, positive, and they attract. But what happens in today's dynamic relationships and these new modern relationships, and by the way, men are not perfect, but a lot of it has to stem with women, right? And what happened with social media. Social media gave women so much more access to men and attention that it's almost flipped the dynamic of a relationship. And so what the author is saying right here is that we might see a man or a woman on the outside world, and this woman might have success, or she might be making her money, or might be in her bag, or whatever it is. And then when you get in a relationship with her, it seems kind of dull. Physically, it could be hot, but it's short-lived, maybe a couple weeks, couple months. I'm talking about something deeper. Even if it is 2 weeks, but it's something so deep as if you couldn't live without this person. That's the kind of relationship I'm talking about. Not surface level, not because you're paying her bills, not because you're doing something for her, but because of who you are outside of the resources, outside of what you're doing for her. It's just who you are as a man. Your greatest gift you could ever give to a woman is your masculine energy, your sense of poise, direction, and character, that woman can feel comfortable around you, that she can trust you, that she can surrender in your presence, knowing that you are a man that's on his purpose, and that she can trust that you can make the right decisions for that relationship. But see, what happens today is two different parts. Number one, women are taught that, and that's, like I said, nothing wrong with this. I'm just revealing the facts here. Women nowadays are taught to be more decisive and make their own choices. And that's totally fine as a single woman. But then when they come to meet another man, and it's a masculine man, especially a man that's on his purpose, the kind of man that I'm talking to on this channel, high value man, she can't seem to, or the guy, like, there's this weird dynamic because the guy is used to living this life that, hey, I'm going to make the choices. Here's what we're going to do. But that woman can't surrender because she's used to making the choices. She's used to being in control. That's the masculine energy I'm talking about here. And if she can't seem to surrender that, then one of the people are going to give. Either the guy's going to get fed up because he's dealing with a woman that's not agreeable, that's combative, that's always trying to compete with him and his energy, and he can never fully like surrender, like not surrender, but feel comfortable around her, then he's going to leave her. Or the woman will continue to make the decisions, and then the man will either try to do this 50-50 thing or let her make the choices. And in a sense, he becomes the feminine and the female becomes the masculine, making the choices and moving the dynamic of the relationship. But if deep down the female wants the woman wants to feel more feminine, but she is in the masculine role, she will get bored of that guy, and that's why women don't like nice men. It's not the fact that that nice men don't win. Is that nice men fall to the back seat because they are in their feminine energy. They're not out there making doing choices, making choices, taking charge. And so this woman now is feeling this energy of like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And this kind of like suck up energy. And she might be attracted to it. She might in today's day and age, the women almost use the guys a little bit, like to get resources and dinners and stuff like that, right? I'm talking about major cities here, by the way. This is where it happens in like the New Yorks and the Miamis. But then after a while, that woman will be bored. And then she'll move on to the next guy, move on to the next guy, move on to the next guy. And now she's 30 years old and she's been with, a lot of men, and she doesn't feel happy. That's what we're talking about here. If men and women are clinging to a politically correct sameness, even in the moments of intimacy, then sexual attraction appears. That's okay to have that dynamic outside. She can be running her own business. She can be doing her own thing and independent. But now when it comes to the dynamic of the intimate relationship, there has to be a change. There has to be a masculine role and a feminine role. So and the difficult thing is for a woman to make that change. Think about this. It's difficult for a woman to go to her business. Let's just say she's running a business. She's running a 6-figure business. She has her employees. She's hiring. She's firing. She's doing vision. She's looking at product, and she's doing all this stuff for the business, right? Making choices. And then when she comes home, it's hard for her to turn that off. She can't just turn it off because that's how she's wiring herself. And so when she comes to a masculine man, she has that same energy. And like I said, it might be okay for a couple months, but I'm talking about over the long term, neither one of you can really get down into deep layers of love because you can never fully surrender to each other. The woman can never fully surrender into love because she can never fully surrender trusting and knowing that her man is out there doing what he's supposed to be doing. And the man can't fully feel comfortable to the woman because she's not holding that feminine, nurturing energy that he seeks as a masculine energy. So you might have surface level physical intimacy, but we're talking about this deeper layer of having a best friend. Wouldn't that be exciting to you? I don't, and as the author continues here, I don't mean just the desire. I don't mean just the desire for intercourse. So that's what we're talking about here. Just the innate, natural, like I want to have intercourse with her. That's not what we're talking about here. But the juice of the entire relationship, the passion behind it, that begins to dry up if one person is not taking lead and the other person is not submitting. The love may be strong. So look at the difference here. The love might be strong. The friendship may still be strong, but the sexual polarity fades unless in the moments of intimacy, one partner is willing to play the masculine role and one partner is willing to play the feminine role. You have an innate masculine and feminine difference in these roles. That's what we're talking about. If you can have a loving friendship between two similarities, but you need So what's the difference here? You can have a long a loving friendship between two similarities. But you need more masculine and more feminine partner in the moments when you want strong sexual polarity. So what he's saying here is, let's go back to the example when I was with my friend, right? So I have a friend of mine. She's very successful, and we have this really good energy together. When we're together, like, we feel really good. But to me, something always felt off, and she agreed the same. And as I'm reading this book, I can see what's going on here. Is that for so many years, she's been living in this very masculine frame. She earns a lot of money, multiple six figures a year. She's successful. She's on her purpose. She's on her vision. She's goal oriented. And then when she meets a guy like me, who's very similar to her, we might have good masterminds. We have good conversations. But then there's this weird dynamic that I'm a man and I'm very masculine. So I have this natural energy. But then for her, she can't turn that off in my presence. And I never understood why. But what the author's saying here is that the woman who lives in this masculine energy, over time, her feminine essence starts to dry up and she can't turn it off. So then what she'll do is she'll meet a masculine man, and there'll always be this almost like combative energy. Or neither one of you can fully surrender into the love that you guys hold for each other. And then it will break off over time. You might have a good dynamic relationship. You might have good conversation, might be good friends, but the sexual polarity is not there. So that's the first situation that this woman will run into. The second type is that a woman will find a more feminine man, a man that is not so much goal-oriented. She'll typically make more money than him, have more success than him. And as a guy, he sees that in her, and he's attracted to her because as a guy, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that. And we're naturally attracted to things that we don't have in another person. We're naturally attracted to characteristics in another person of the traits that we want. So a feminine man who's not on his bag, that's not on his purpose, that's not moving towards anything, if he finds a woman that is on her bag, on her purpose, he will be attracted to her. And that woman, especially if he's physically attractive, she will be attracted to him because in a sense, she can control the relationship. Because she's used to control. She's used to making the choices, making the decisions in her life, in her business, in her career. And so when she meets a man, she brings that same masculine energy into the relationship. And now she's making the choices, or she becomes the masculine energy in the relationship. And the man sits back and becomes feminine. And that's okay. But then if a woman, which 90% of them have a more natural feminine core, she will get bored of that guy. And that's why they say nice guys finish last. Nice guys never get the girl, is because of this. That the woman can never fully surrender into her true frame, her true feminine essence, because she's always having to make choices and do stuff that a man would do. Am I saying here that when you get in a relationship as a man or with a man or any relationship that the man controls everything, that he makes all the choices? No, that's not what I'm saying. I truly believe that women have some of the best insight in the world. But one thing I learned in this book is, as a man, especially if in a relationship with a woman, you make the choices. You look to your partner and you mastermind with her. Maybe you're saying, "Hey, babe, I'm thinking that we're gonna move to Miami. Here's why." And then maybe she has her own input that says, "Hey, why don't you look at it like this?" And she provides insight or a new perspective to you. But then as a man, you will make the choice. It's not saying, "Hey, this is what we're going to do, and you're going to submit and follow to me." No, that's control. You have this dynamic of communication with the woman, but then if she really trusts you, and that's why we have to build strong men. That's why I have this channel here. Make sure, by the way, you subscribe to the show, hit that like button. I would appreciate you. That's why we're teaching men how to become more dynamic and more masculine, so that when you're having this communication with a woman, she can fully trust that the choice that you make for you, the relationship, the family, that the choice that you make was a good choice. That you have taken everything into consideration for you as a man, for her as your woman, and for the family. She has to be able to trust you as a man. But if you're a man that's afraid to make choices, a man that's afraid to go out there and tackle the world, face death, face uncertainty, she will never trust you. She'll never fully trust you and become that true feminine gift that you seek as a man. And to draw that out of her, you must draw it out of yourself as a man. And I think in today's age, we can't control other people. As a man, you cannot control the other women. You can't control their promiscuity. You can't control their Instagram photos. You can't control the orbiters and all the validation. You can't control that. But as a man, you can control yourself. You can control yourself, your mindset, your attitude, your actions, the results you get in your life. That's what you can control as a man. And what you'll do, especially if you start to study this material and you follow along with me here, if you start to develop your gifts of masculine energy and you don't settle for anything less than what you want, naturally, a woman will come around you and she will be able to give you her gifts of love, unconditional love, surrender, and nurturing that you really want as a man. But I think in this dynamic, it starts with the man first, for him to lead the charge, for him to be the example to set out there. And I think in today's day and age, there's not enough men talking about that. There's a lot of men talking about getting rich. Great. I talk about that. I built a 7-figure business. We continue to make money. We'll talk about that. Where there's men talking about getting your body in shape. Great. That's also there. But what we're talking about is the intangible soft traits of the masculine gifts that you hold. And that's what we want to develop here. I truly believe that a high value man is a man that is valuable to the marketplace, to the relationships that he holds, both sexually with his wife, his girlfriend, the girls he's with, or his friends, right? His friends group, his social group. But it's truly a man that lives a life on his meaning, on his purpose, living it his way. Not afraid to step on, I wouldn't say disrespectfully, not afraid to step out there and attack and fight for what he wants. As long as it doesn't validate the rights of another person, that man goes out there and he gets what he wants. As Frank Sinatra said, I did it my way. That is a high value man. It's all these different stuff that come into it, but it starts with being better every single day. Guys, hopefully you guys are liking this value. My goal, like I said, whether there's one person watching right now, I will be here providing value because as a man, this is my mission. And if it's got to take me 100 episodes before this thing blows up, I will be here for 100 episodes. And then when we come back, they'll say, oh, I knew you were going to make it. Yeah, that's why you weren't here watching live. And a big shout out to the person watching me live right now. And I appreciate that. Like if there was nobody watching, I would still be here sharing the message. You know, like you think Jesus, who came on this earth with a mission, I'm not comparing myself to Jesus, but it's a story. You think Jesus, if nobody was to listen to him for the first 3 weeks, like you think he's going to give up? No, he has a vision. He has a purpose. And until he does it, he will find the right people. And as I continue to create this content, somebody will come across it. This information is vibrating and it's going to connect with the men that need to hear it, that will resonate with it, and we'll build a community of men that are working on themselves, becoming high value, leading their lives, leading the lives in their relationship with their woman, leading when it comes to their friends groups, leading when it comes to society, and becoming better men every single day. Let's strive to it. My name is DeAndre Saxton. I am your brother. I am documenting this journey here with you. Let's grow together. Let's be better men. I'll see you on Friday for the 9 p.m. Saxton Seminar, episode 14. Let's become better men. See you guys next time. Take care.